Mike Johnson is no longer effectively the Speaker of the House. He can only afford to lose one Republican vote per issue, and every single time there's at least one Republican who has issues with him. But right now, his biggest challenge comes from within his own party, Thomas Massie. Massie is pushing relentlessly for the full release of the Epstein files, despite efforts from Donald Trump and other Republicans in the House to block him. They're trying to stop Massie and Rowena, along with the entire Democratic Party, from delivering justice for the Epstein survivors. Massie clearly isn't intimidated by Trump, Pam Bondi, or Kash Patel. He's so determined that he's making a bold move with Ro Khanna, even as threats are being leveled against him. This is where I want to begin before diving into the impeachment news that's got Mike Johnson spiraling and Pam Bondi panicking. It all starts with Massie discussing the threats he's facing.
Also, I'm going to say this here on camera because it's important. One of Kash Patel's staff threatened my staff with a criminal investigation if we didn't straighten up and play ball.
I was going to ask you about that, but since you brought it up, and I didn't,
I'm bringing it up.
Okay, you brought it up.
And so, like a criminal investigation having nothing to do. He said it was going to be a fraud. We're going to investigate one of your staff for fraud. Right. And he told another one of my staff this: if you guys don't straighten up, if you want to play hardball, if this is how you want to play it, or something like that, this member of your staff is going to get criminally investigated for fraud. A very specific threat.
Thomas Massie also wrote on Twitter, within hours of the Epstein file release, a super PAC funded by Israel First billionaire Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Polson, who himself appears in Epstein's Black Book, bought another $800,000 of TV ads against me. I'll still win, but if I lose, it was worth it. Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, but probably more so Massie since he's still in Congress, are the best examples of how politically impotent Donald Trump has become. If Massie, despite facing threats from Republican establishment figures and billionaire donors who are after him for various reasons, including his criticism of the Israeli government's influence on U.S. politics, if Massie can hold his ground, it will be a huge loss for Trump. It will show that even in the face of all these pressures, Massie remains committed to issues like Epstein, proving that the future of the Republican Party doesn't have to revolve around Donald Trump. If you have any sense of self-preservation, you should want to distance yourself from the cover-up of the Epstein files. This is the message that Robert Garcia is putting out there. Before we dive into the latest news about Massie and Bondi, it's important to understand just how damaging it would be for Trump if Massie isn't unseated in a primary.
Look, when we saw that document, of course, it was of high interest to us. The fact that it was removed immediately and then posted again, I think is also incredibly interesting. And I want to remind folks that we have to go back to the key question in this investigation, is why has Donald Trump been so obsessed with hiding the Epstein files? Who is he protecting? Why is he protecting them? And why did Jeffrey Epstein say that Donald Trump was his best friend for over a decade? And why were people trafficked from Mar-a-Lago? Why does all of this center around New York and Palm Beach? These questions all need to be answered, and the arrows continue to point back to the White House. So we will get justice for the survivors.
I think the only way we should be communicating with Republicans right now is by being very clear. There will be accountability. We're not done with the files. We won't be stopped. We're not moving on. This is not over. Democrats need to start saying that out loud. I've talked with Robert Garcia about this, especially given that he's expected to chair the Oversight Committee after the midterms once Democrats retake the House. And he's been clear. Accountability is coming. We've heard the same from Eric Swalwell as well. If you're in the DOJ and you so much as poured Pam Bondi a cup of coffee, get ready. Accountability is coming for you. And it may come sooner than the midterms because Ro Khanna has made it clear that he and Thomas Massie already have plans drafted, ready to go when it comes to impeachment and contempt proceedings against Bondi.
Now, last time we spoke, you mentioned that inherent contempt proceedings were being drafted. You were considering bringing them. Are we there yet? I mean, I feel like they've released half the files that they said they have in their possession. The redactions are a mess. They completely blew past the first deadline. Are we at inherent contempt?
We have that in our back pocket. Look, since we've spoken, we've made a lot of progress, right? I mean, they had released basically nothing. Now they've released about half the files. The redactions are wrong. I mean, they have failed to redact some of the survivors. I've talked to the survivors' lawyers who are furious. And they have shielded still powerful men whose names are in those files and redacted that. But Massie and I have requested a meeting with Blanchard, the Deputy Attorney General. He was on one of the Sunday shows today saying he'll meet and open to that. And what we're going to do is pursue every avenue to get as much as possible while we have the contempt and impeachment drafted and ready to go. I do think that threat has really pushed the Department of Justice, in addition to our filings in court and making clear we're prepared to bring a lawsuit. So our goal is to get the files out, and we reserve the right to bring the contempt or impeachment at any moment. But that's sort of one of the final cards. And what we want to do is get as much out as possible without just using the nuclear option.
The potential impeachment of Pam Bondi gets a lot more interesting in light of the latest election in Texas's 18th congressional district, where another Democrat has been elected to Congress. An outcome Mike Johnson may try to block amid the ongoing partial government shutdown. We'll have more on that tomorrow. But the key point remains. As I said at the start of this video, Mike Johnson is operating with a razor-thin one-vote majority in the House. And because of that, the Bondi situation becomes much more complicated. Momentum toward impeaching Bondi could get tougher. There are Republicans who are angry, very angry, and some of them want that anger to be seen. The numbers are getting tighter. And that makes this threat from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna very real. That said, it's not necessarily a threat that guarantees impeachment and conviction in the Senate. What Donald Trump is truly worried about is this becoming high profile. Trump hates bad television. We've seen this before. People talked about how he sidelined Kristi Noem because she was constantly on TV. Trump watches a lot of TV. He's unhappy with how Pam Bondi is being portrayed, especially as he sees figures like Comey, Letitia James, and Don Lemon openly mocking him. He cannot stand that. What would really terrify Donald Trump is a highly public, highly televised push to impeach Pam Bondi. That's exactly what Massie and Khanna are signaling. They're essentially saying, we tried contempt. We tried the $10,000 a day fines. If that's not moving you, we'll escalate. And that escalation matters, especially at a moment when Mike Johnson looks weak and keeps insisting every other day that he hasn't lost control of the House. Because let's be honest, Donald Trump's greatest fear is appearing weak. This goes directly to his psychology. Think back to that moment with the Florida Panthers after they won the Stanley Cup. Surrounded by elite NHL players, Trump commented on how strong they were, and then immediately pivoted to boasting that he has the U.S. military. Not the United States. His military. That's how he sees power, especially when he feels small, insecure, or exposed. And that's exactly how Trump feels right now. There are many reasons ICE was sent into Minneapolis: distraction, chaos, cruelty. But another reason is that Trump feels weak. And when he feels weak, he lashes out. Mike Johnson is simply an extension of Trump. We saw that clearly on Meet the Press when Kristen Welker asked Johnson if he would ever break with Trump on any issue. Johnson flatly refused, saying they don't agree on everything, but he won't disagree on anything either. That tells you everything you need to know. So yes, Trump is worried. He's worried about looking weak in the House yet again. He's worried about a Republican revolt against Pam Bondi, and he's worried that all of this will further expose the Epstein cover-up his administration has tried to bury at every turn. That's why the pressure coming from Ro Khanna and a defiant Thomas Massie is getting under Trump's skin. And it's also why the recent reporting, broken down so effectively by Ari Melber and journalist Tara Palmieri, who does excellent work on the Epstein files, matters so much. Let's take a closer look at their breakdown of these latest developments.
It seems like they've just given up on it altogether. They have, before June, they said there were active leads when you spoke to the Justice Department. Pam Bondi said she's got the Epstein lead list on her desk. Then afterwards, there's no one else involved. And it's really disheartening for the victims because they were hoping that with the Epstein files coming out, they would have a sort of immunity in a sense where it would be public, the names of the people that abused them and the information that they submitted. They wanted to feel like it wasn't their burden. They wouldn't have to deal with defamation suits. Virginia Giuffre obviously had to deal with a ton of defamation suits from
I'm only jumping in
for speaking out.
I'm only jumping in with the minute we have left.
Yeah.
If we say that the evidence suggests maybe first-term Trump DOJ fell down on the job, then isn't it the job of the next DOJ
Absolutely.
under Merrick Garland to pick up the leads?
And the one before that, he was 1996. The first call went in to about Jeffrey Epstein from Maria Farmer about her and her sister being sexually molested. And every single time he used his high-ranking officials, his contacts. Obama's former White House counsel, Kathy Remler, was giving him advice on how to deal with an accusation against Donald Trump. That is how high up Jeffrey Epstein was connected to all of these administrations. And that is why he got away with one of the most perverse crimes for 3 decades.
What matters most to Donald Trump, above everything else, when it comes to the Epstein files, is making sure you see this as small and insignificant as possible. The goal is to convince you it doesn't really matter, that it's no big deal, and that everyone should just move on, that there was no real connection between Trump and Epstein, or if there was, it was so minor it's not worth discussing. Just a coincidence. Just a few people who happened to cross paths. A couple of photos. Nothing more. That's the story they want you to believe. And it couldn't be further from the truth. This wasn't some harmless, isolated incident, and it certainly wasn't insignificant. That's exactly why we're going to keep digging into it on this show. If you want to support that work, as always, hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.